Hey guys, welcome back to the MetaMinds podcast where we help you master your mindset. My name's Dan and I'm a fully qualified counsellor.
My name's Eamon and I'm a video marketer.
And on today's episode, we had Jess join us from Built by Jess. She had a really fascinating story and I just loved how authentic and true she was to herself. And her holistic approach to personal training was actually really exciting to hear about. You know, like a lot of the time it's focused on weights or diet. Like she really does focus on mindset. On your weights and also on your movement and flexibility, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, it's really like the movement flexibility element is really important to your lifestyle, and it's all one encompassing package. You don't just go to the gym to get ripped. That's just a symptom, and
that's a
you also
byproduct.
pretty much, yeah. So we learned a lot, and there's no doubt a lot of value you'll get out of this. So get your thinking caps on. I don't know why I said that. Never say anything like that.
We never wear thinking caps.
No, we don't. Thanks for joining us, and jump into the podcast and enjoy.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jess. I guess we'll start off with a little bit of a brief history around how you got to the position you're in today, just so we can kind of unpack that and learn a bit about your journey.
Yeah, cool. So I've been in the fitness industry formally for like about 3 years or so. But my fitness journey started, so I did 12 months in the gap year, straight out of school, and I gained a lot of weight, maybe 20 kilos.
Wow,
right.
I reckon in the good year that I was in there.
Food's so good, isn't it?
I found beer.
Right.
I turned 18 in the Navy, and actually they're saying drink as a sailor is actually a thing.
Right.
And you try and keep up with the guys, and it's just and the thighs just keep getting bigger. But I didn't even notice because you have overalls in the Navy, so you just put them on, and it wasn't until you put normal clothes on, you're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
That's different. So then I started going to the gym randomly and finally stood on the scales and I was like, okay, never been this heavy in my life. I looked at myself and I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm still good. So I just started actually moving weights. I never did weights actually until probably halfway through that year when I realised, because I was always being a 18-year-old, never stepped foot in the gym really. It's quite intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. For anyone.
Super
but
intimidating.
I feel like girls even more so, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Well, particularly back then, and coming from in the Navy base as well, it was still guys in the weights room, well, mainly that I can remember.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I won't go in there just yet. Anyway, so I got over that little hump just by going in every now and then for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and having a friend doing that. And then in uni, I went to uni straight after the Navy. And then I just slowly realised, okay, you have to worry about what you're eating, worry about how much you're moving. I still drank a little bit though, but not as much. And then fast forward a couple of years, I did a fitness challenge with, it was called Boot Camps Australia. And I'm one of the people that has that mentality, it's either all or nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm ridiculously competitive. So I made sure I won. So I ended up winning that fitness challenge and I actually really enjoyed the process of it. And then I had a friend who did the bodybuilding comp, so that when it was INBA, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilding something.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that looks like a challenge. I'll try that. And yeah, so I started on that journey, started bodybuilding properly, or bikini bodybuilding properly. I found a coach and got up onto stage, and it actually wasn't too bad in the whole presence thing, the whole training thing, and I actually really enjoyed the process. And then progressing through that, going through different shows, my training integrity improved. And I'm one to not half-ass things. I want to know exactly why I'm doing something, what it's going to happen. And then the more that I found out, the more that I realised I didn't know. And then the more that I realised other people didn't know. And not so much just in bodybuilding training, but lifestyle in general, how easy it can be to move, how easy it can be to monitor your food, how easy it can be to do X, Y, and Z, but we're put forth with such a plethora of information that people don't really know where to look. And then they go to the areas that are easy to look, which are your magazines, Instagram, just doing a general Google search. And unfortunately, sometimes when the websites have the highest SEO, so they pop up first, aren't exactly the most, or have the most integrity, or backed up by science. So I realised that there was a gap in actual science and what people were doing, and how unhappy people were when it came to their body and health, and going through that my own fitness journey, understanding that I was still happy with the way that I was, but happy enough to never go back there. And so that's kind of how it started. And I did a couple of comps, started doing my certs 3 and 4, in fitness because you need that to train people, and haven't really ever looked back.
Yeah, right. And like, where are you now in this position right now? So you've done all of that work, you've done degrees, you've done all these competitions. So what would you say is your current role now then?
So I call myself just a fitness coach, but mainly based around mobility, strength, and stability, as opposed to the nutrition side of things. Like I leave that to the nutritionists, the people who've spent like 3 or 4 years, and I'm more than happy to refer out to them. Like I can provide guidelines in that area, but for me, teaching someone how to move properly, how to get off the floor without using their hands, and being able to move when you're 80, that's like my goal. But not only that, I also focus heavily on mindset as well as confidence, perceptions, and reframing the mind so that people realize that they are more capable than they think they are, and understanding as well that some of the stuff that they are doing is detrimental to their future in terms of being a healthy human.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I am at the moment. So all my girls and guys that come in, they go through a movement assessment. We go through a full-on consultation in terms of not just their training history, but also their life history, and how they perceive themselves, because the more that I know about them mentally and physically, the easier it will be for me to program them and actually help them, and also identify if I'm the right coach for them. Because if we don't align on those areas, then I'm not going to get the best out of them, and they're not going to get the best out of me.
Yeah, which is a very ethical way to do it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I would prefer to get income from people that I actually provide value to.
Yeah.
And like I've said no to a couple of clients because we just haven't meshed simply on personality, or their goals are different and they just won't listen. So I'll say, okay, you're not listening to me, you're going to listen to this person here. But then sometimes it can come down to, if I let go of them, are they going to go to someone who just does what they say and break them? So it's like a catch-22 sometimes. So
it definitely sounds like you care, and it comes from a very genuine place, which is awesome. Because as you kind of alluded to before the podcast, there's a lot of information out there, especially on Instagram. There's some people doing like wild workouts which look really cool.
Yeah, they look cool for Instagram.
But in terms of practicality,
like I've started, one of the guys at the gym that I worked at, Tim, he is super athletic, and he posts these things up on different variations of movements. And I do the Instagram versus reality. So I'm like, yeah, it's so easy for you. And like I'm not an athletic person. I just pick weights up and put them down. But to know that the discrepancy of ability as well highlights to me like the stuff that you see on Instagram, you can't actually, well, you can do, but sometimes it might look the same, but you're not moving the same. So particularly when it comes to squatting and any type of like ab movement, of course you can do a sit-up, but are actually recruiting the abs to do your sit-up, or recruiting your hip flexors? And that will, if you have already tight hips, then you're going to make them even worse. So what you see isn't always what you get.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So,
especially when you try and give it a shot.
Oh, yeah. Or you just face plant. Like, I think, what was I trying to do? I was trying to do like a jumping Bulgarian lunge, and I completely stacked it. It was hilarious.
Is it filmed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I filmed
it.
Great,
actually,
what did I film the other day? I was filming this handstand thing, and I tried to like come out of it in a cartwheel, whacked my ankle on my chair, and I have this brilliant video of me just like holding my ankle, completely like milking how I felt. But it was brilliant. I post all my stuff on Instagram. Like, I'm not shy. Like, I actually had someone who I met with because they'd only seen my Instagram, and they were like, oh, I expected something different. I'm like, have you seen my stories? Like, at the moment, I can never wear makeup. I swear like a trooper. Like, I try and relate. Like, what you see on the Instagram feed sometimes isn't always reflective of what I am. Well,
most of the time in Instagram, it's
people
putting out the best versions of themselves, which isn't a bad thing,
Yeah.
But
well, unfortunately, that's what gets the initial attention, and then the authenticity, even though that is in my posts, like what you're hearing now and what you see on my stories is me. Like, I would hate for someone to see me and have the initial reaction to go, oh my God, she looks better on Instagram. Like, or she's not what she appears to be on Instagram, or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's kind of I try and be not the Instagram, the reality.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Which is really massive, really, isn't it? Especially in the fitness scene where a lot of it is based purely on looks and, aesthetics.
On looks. I do notice a shift towards the more educated. Like I think
Cool.
people are actually picking up on the fact that even though you look at something on Instagram, some people get paid to literally film one video, and that's like their weekly or their weekly income.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like you shouldn't aspire to be someone who is paid to do like their job is to look good, because your job isn't to look good.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like coming from my point of view, like, I've been into fitness for like kind of like 4-ish years and going to the gym and that kind of thing. Obviously, I have like other priorities in my life that are much bigger, but I do aspire to, become the best version of myself in fitness. But, then I am following a lot of different people on Instagram, for example, and it's only really recently like been made clear to me that like every photo that you see that someone like, looks amazing, the abs are all popping, like they've done 20 sit-ups before that one photo, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And like to the average person, especially to the average person like old me, like I had no idea about this. Like, how do people look like this all the time?
And they're like oiling up their abs and stuff,
exactly.
getting the nice lighting. Yeah.
And not only that, like people post like photos from like way back when. Like today I posted a photo from February. I'm not any different, but like I'm not as lean as I was in February, and I'm more than happy to be like, yep, this photo is not today. But it's still an achievement of what you can do. But people need to realise that, like you said, people pump up for videos, or they'll like make things, or there are so many things you can do with a filter these days, or what is it, Photoshop. Like the most I do is I just go through the standard Instagram filters, and even that, it's more so to just make the shadows less shadowy.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about like aligning before, like I don't know if you've heard about the Align method by Aaron Alexander.
no, I haven't actually.
Okay. Oh, he's an American. He's all about the kind of, movement and connecting with your body in that way. And I've been, I picked up quite a bit of stuff from that particular book, just like hanging, for example. So I do like 4 to 6 sets of like 15-second hanging every day.
Yeah.
And I noticed like I have much more like flexibility in like my shoulders and back and that kind of thing. Whereas previously when I'd be doing like overhead shoulder press, like I'd get a little bit of a, I don't get that now after like doing those small exercises. Is there any like main kind of go-to things for movement and flexibility that you kind of recommend to people off the bat?
Well, most people these days have a slight kyphotic curve, and what I mean by that is they have a rounding of the shoulders, because we sit at a desk all day, we're like this, and literally our shoulders, over time, if you're like this for a longer period of time, then they will form that way. So there's no wrong posture. Posture is wrong when you spend too much in one particular posture.
Your body just adapts, right?
And as a result of that, it's not so much, a lot of people attribute that to a weakness in particular areas, or a tightening of the chest, and then they do these weird exercises to try and fix it, when ideally you should be working on like the mid-back. You want to strengthen the opposing area as well as the chest, like just because, or people think because it's tight you can hunch forward, like opening up the chest won't do much. You actually need to strengthen the mid-back. So the first thing that I usually do is get them to do like a banded row, or anything that works the midline of their back. When it comes to any type of hip movement, people's hip mobility is usually shocking.
Oh, really?
And not only that, they don't have a connection between their lower abs and their glutes, and that's a lot more common in females, particularly because we have hips, and we usually have a lordotic curve, which means our ass sticks out further than anything else. And being in heels, it exacerbates that. So when they go into a squat, they load up their erectors, so their lower back. They don't actually hinge properly at the hips, or they hinge forward. So when people do a squat, they lean forward. And as a result of that, they're not actually recruiting any part of their legs. They're just using their back pretty much. So by looking at areas of their feet, so if you have tight feet and tight calves, as well as tight ankles, or your ankle mobility is different, or not different, inadequate, you're not going to be able to get into that range of motion. So we take them through ankle mobility, calf raises. I do this brilliant movement called the 90-90, which opens up the hips. So you sit with your legs in a 90-degree angle, one's this way, one's the other way. And you rotate between that, and that opens up the hips. And once we go through that, then most people are pretty good. But unfortunately, unless you fix the movement pattern, you're going to have the same issue. So my goal is to fix movement patterns so that the issue no longer exists, because you can you can literally hump a roller or a ball for like an hour before your session. But if you have to do that every time, you're not fixing what's causing the issue to start with.
Yeah, true.
So that's what like a banded approach by rolling on something usually.
I see. Yeah.
I do like that's like one of my favorite 5 minutes of my day now is like I have that roll,
Yeah.
and I just roll on my back like for 5 minutes and just all the cracking and everything because I'm sitting a lot, you know. So.
Yeah, and that's fine doing that, but at the same time you wouldn't need to do that if you didn't sit like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right. And I also find it really interesting how you have a big focus on mindset. And as you told us that story at the beginning, you mentioned that you were, 20 kilos heavier, but you kind of just brushed it aside. Like it sounds like you had a lot of kind of, you knew yourself maybe, you were authentic to yourself, so it didn't seem to faze you based on what you said?
yeah, initially no, like because I'd never really been exposed to like the thin lifestyle, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like I never really cared too much. I still care about what people think and probably a little bit too much sometimes. But to the point where I knew that people didn't judge me on the way that I was looking because I still had a really good close group of friends.
Cool.
It was more so that I knew that I wasn't healthy. And now I look back and my mindset's probably skewed a little bit now because I'm involved in the industry. And now if I'm heavier, I sometimes devalue myself but then try and snap myself out of it. But I've never had a feeling of, lack of self-worth growing up.
Wow.
So that I think that kind of helped. And also having brothers, as I mentioned earlier, I'm super competitive. So always trying to be better. So looking at something as an obstacle as opposed to something that I can't do.
Yeah.
So being 20 kilos heavier, I just looked at it as, oh shit, what
It is what it is,
have you
yeah.
done? Like, okay, what are we going to do now? But it's more so being consistent in the approach of your change.
Yeah.
And that's what what I find with a lot of my clients is they have that initial drive, but they don't know why they want to be a certain weight. Or they think they do, but when they get to that certain weight, they haven't addressed areas of their life that actually is unsatisfying for them. Like they think if they lose X amount of weight, they're going to be more attractive to other people.
Right.
But if they still don't love themselves at that weight, then they're still going to be the same person. They're just going to be a little bit skinnier.
Exactly.
So what is it that you...
That's kind of what I was
people?
curious. Yeah. Like, how do you work with these people then with your...
It's the kind of questions that you ask or that I ask like in the initial phase. So understanding their why and why they're actually here to train with me, why they think that they need a trainer to start with. And then you go through their history. So if they've gone through a yo-yo lifestyle, I call it, where they've eaten heaps, gotten skinny, or moved for did heaps of challenges and stuff, then didn't do any challenge for a while, and then they gained heaps of weight. So, or even like just normal things like what I call a yo-yo lifestyle. So that provides me with the mentality of they just do things because I think society thinks they need to do it, as opposed to just being consistent and happy with what they're doing. So getting an understanding of why they think they need to see a trainer and understand that you can eat sustainably, and if you train sustainably and consistently, then you're going to get results. And if you stay that way, consistency breeds results pretty much. So, but understanding that 1,200 calories is not an ideal thing to eat on a daily basis because you are literally performing or putting yourself in like the most ridiculous caloric deficit. And I have so many girls now that have been on 1,200 calories for years. And if they even eat any more than that, they gain weight. But that's because their body is in that maintenance phase and they think that if they eat any more, they're going to gain weight. And because they've been there in that lower end, when they do eat more, they do gain weight, so then they go back down. And then they binge again, and then they go back down. So
it's a cycle.
Yeah, massive cycle. But educating them on what cues them to feel that way, and then becoming more resilient in it's okay to gain weight sometimes as well to get to where you need to be. And that's where I am at the moment. So coming from bodybuilding, you diet down to like ridiculous levels. I think I got down to 8% in my last comp. And me being a personal trainer as well, I like to look I like to look the part. So I like to look strong, I like to look healthy. And I feel that if I gain X amount of weight or if I don't fit into certain clothes, then people aren't going to see me as a reputable trainer. And so I'm in that mind battle as well. So I can actually relate to the girls as well, knowing that, okay, when you eat more, you are going to gain weight more, but sometimes gaining weight can be healthy. And once you gain the weight is when you hit a particular maintenance, you increase your training as well, your intensity goes up, and it becomes more of an equilibrium. And so you basically train more, eat more, and also moving more. So just educating people on, one, why they think they need to do training and what they were lacking and why they, like, what got them to this point to start with. Most of the time it's not that extreme as what I mentioned just before. Sometimes, like, either they've had a baby and they want to lose some extra weight, or they don't know how to do it. People don't realise the amount of crap in processed foods these days and how palatability of foods affects our eating patterns. And the main thing that I actually assess now is their lifestyle in terms of stress, sleep, and digestion, and lack of micronutrients in the food that they eat. So I don't know if you've ever gone on a holiday and you've eaten so much crap, and all you want to do when you come back from a holiday is just eat vegetables or eat something healthy. So your body's craving. Your body craves it.
Yeah.
Like, your body wants a good nutrient. So when you feed it the good nutrients, it's not going to want the high processed foods. Right. Like, as soon as you have something palatable, it's a hit of dopamine, you want more of it. So getting my clients more aware of that process, to say you're not actually hungry, your mind's like tricking you, because we can fast for 3 to 7 days without food. Like, I did a 48-hour fast just because, just to see, okay, what is actual hunger? And when we think we're hungry, we're not actually hungry.
Yeah, it's not even close.
No, not even close. And a lot of people don't drink enough water. And when you start incorporating water, getting more sleep, performing things like gratitude and meditation and breathing properly, like, a lot of people are chest breathers as opposed to diaphragmatically breathing, which means breathing into your stomach pretty much, because your diaphragm is the muscle that is designed to help you breathe. People don't do that, so they open up their chest, and that's a stress reaction usually. So if you breathe down, meditate, get all those other factors in place, get your stress in place, and you get yourself into this body environment to start now losing weight efficiently. So it's kind of like a
very holistic approach.
Yeah, it's holistic, but like, for me, when you come to coaching, you don't just get a program of sets and reps.
That's really cool.
And that's what I say to my clients. Some of them, if they want that, then I can provide them with that, but I will feel terrible because that's not my thing.
Yeah. And also, like, you're setting up the foundation so that when they do potentially leave you, which is most likely their goal, then they can actually have the resources to continue without just relapsing. If you're just teaching them how to do reps, they might just relapse, in a year or whatever.
And I'm the worst trainer, because my goal is for them to not want me in 12 months time or 3 years time, for me to educate them enough and for them to have enough confidence in themselves to go off and eat how they want, but know what they're eating and what that means, or to know how to train properly and know how to increase or decrease, know when to take time off. Then that's my job done. Like, if they're still with me after like 4 years, 5 years, I haven't done my job properly, or they just love me and they want to see me every week.
Yeah.
Like, I am pretty awesome.
Serious. Probably that one.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it definitely sounds like there's, a lot more than perhaps people generally kind of realize to the whole fitness. Perhaps their goal is to be fit and look good, but actually, like, they need to sort the rest of their lives out before they can get to that point. And it's good because then not only do they get fit, but they also get, the rest of the benefits that kind of come with that, with their life.
Yeah, and if your mindset doesn't align to your goals, then you're not gonna achieve it. And a lot of people around being motivated and determined, they're all well and good, but motivation it's a temporary thing. You need to understand that you have to develop discipline and resilience. So if you don't have those two and you don't want to build those up, you're never going to get to where you want to be. Like, one of the things I get one of my clients to do, if I find that their resilience isn't as high as I think it should be, I'll have them put a piece of hair in their face, if they have the hair to put in their face rather, and see how long they can hold it there without it annoying them to the point where they need to move it. Because the longer you can sit in an uncomfortable situation, because training is uncomfortable. Like, I give people weights and they don't, like, their body can do it, but it hurts. So their mind's like, oh my God, it's hurting. I can't do any more. And if you give them like a competition, so you've got 2 5-kilo dumbbells, how many reps can you do in terms of a shoulder press with good form? How many can you bust out? And they were only doing like 6 or 8 or so, and like, so if we're going to see how many people can do, and the person who does the least or something like that, does 10 burpees, something like that. And they ended up doing 15 to 20 reps because their body can do it. It's just their mind. So once their mind sort of checks out, and you can, as a trainer, you can see it. So getting them to an understanding of your body's a lot more resilient sometimes than you think. You just need to know that your body is. And discipline. And discipline is in, like, you need to be consistent. And know that sometimes it's going to suck. Like, I go into the gym sometimes, like this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge environment person when I train. So I need, as I said, I'm competitive, so I like to have other people around me so I can show off and be like, yeah. I can do this. But and that's part of my downfall as well, because I seek gratification when I don't need to. But being in the gym and understanding, okay, I know that I don't want to go here, but I know that I have to, because if I don't, I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to be sluggish throughout the day. My digestion will be poor, and I won't achieve the results that I want. So discipline and resilience is kind of something that people lack and need to understand that they need those, as well as the determination, motivation, because unfortunately motivation is a temporary.
It's fleeting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially like, I only recently started kind of working full time, and that happened at the same time around all the gyms kind of shut.
Yeah.
So like I had a little bit of equipment, at my house, and I consider myself quite a disciplined person, but there was kind of a few weeks there where like, just because I didn't set a plan in place, I just wasn't actually disciplined because I didn't really know what I was doing, how I was going to actually, grow and that kind of thing. So I just didn't do it for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden I look in the mirror, I've lost like 2.5 kilos of muscle. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And that's that motivation flicking in right there.
Yeah.
So how have you actually survived in this kind of like, gym shutting down like period?
Well, thankfully I've still like been able to train out of my gym, but my clients can't train out of there. So I've been taking equipment to the local parks and areas and outdoor stuff. But when it comes to that, it was actually a really good opportunity for me to step back and get away from the weights and work on things like mobility, stability, so that when I do go back into proper full-on lifting, my body is more able to do so. So now my squat depth has like increased by about 2 inches because I actually spent time focusing on that, because we're on such a rush all the time. Well, I know I am, because I'm a type A personality and I can't sit still.
Love your awareness of yourself.
Oh, yeah. Like I won't spend 5 minutes before I train to do my mobility stuff, because I'm always strapped for time and I put it down as the bottom of the barrel priority. And that's another thing that I do with my clients, is we need to set priorities, which I'll talk to in a second. But that this COVID provided me with the ability to just slow the F down and be like, okay, it's okay to work on these things to help stuff. But what I find is, if I write a plan down, like physically write it down and do a little checklist, like physically, and then physically tick it off, it's so much more satisfying. So, and that's with a lot of clients, when you tick something off, the dopamine goes dunk.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've done with a lot of my clients as well. But it was an opportunity for them to slow down too, in terms of improving areas of mobility and stability, to help them when they come back into the gym, because when they come see me, they'll only see me for half an hour to an hour, and I'd prefer them to come 10 minutes early to do all their mobility drills and stuff like that. But being in the climate that we are, most people are strapped for time, and that 1 hour that they have is their me time. So the less time I can spend on like, or half an hour on crap mobility, depending on the client, the better it is. So that's what I've tried to do. But yeah, it's been pretty hard in terms of, I think it was the whole general funk of the world. Like everyone was in such a funk for a good couple of weeks. Yeah. And I'm a very environmental person. If my environment's down, then I'm usually down too. So try to maintain some sort of happiness, but at the same time.
We're very lucky in Australia to be kind of getting back to it now, I suppose, when a lot of countries are still
struggling. Exactly.
We have done, so and I know there's a lot of backlash in certain areas in terms of what the government has done, but you can't fault them right now, to be honest. Like, like 5 cases in Queensland?
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Yeah,
exactly. And people always are so quick to criticise, but if they were in that position, what would they do? Like, they've done quite a good job considering what's happened. And
I understand why they are pushing back the opening of certain things because of regulations, but they don't want to be the people that open up something and it just causes
And
another
then an
massive outbreak.
Exactly, yeah.
So, but yeah, gyms are back. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
Mine's still not back yet, but
Oh,
got
which gym do you go to?
week and a bit. Just up here. It's just a PCYC, so it's kind of like
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're kind of taking a little bit extra precautions. It's
Yeah.
not exactly a huge gym, so
Yeah.
but soon I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to it.
And I can book in
Soon.
mine now at Good Life, but
And
only
like-
45-minute increments. Only
Yeah,
lots.
I literally had just come from Good Life and I booked 2 45 minutes. I had to do my session, go wait out for like 15 minutes, then come back in. But I planned it perfectly.
Nice.
But when it comes to the gyms opening, it's good. But people, like so many people, realized how much they needed to do exercise from COVID. Like
Yeah.
so many
It's a lot
people
of
out and about was like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
More than ever. Hey.
so
Walking,
much more than
buying
ever.
bikes, yeah.
It was brilliant for terms of health and fitness, I think.
Yeah.
But what I think a lot of people don't recognize is the gym is usually a sanctuary to release stress. Even though training is a stressor on the body, people's mental health revolved around going to the gym, having their own time. They wanted to get their stress out through either lifting weights or running full pelt on like a, what do you call it? What's that thing?
Elliptical?
Oh my God, no, treadmill.
treadmill.
Oh my God. Or even a rower and things like that. So coming back to that and for them understanding that their mental health does is affected if they don't go to the gym, but I'm hoping that people realise that there are certain ways to manage stress outside of the gym as a result of this. And you could see that because people, like I was in New Farm this morning as well. I have never seen so many people in New Farm
Really?
in my life.
Wow,
I
there
was
you
like,
go.
this is incredible. Like the amount of connection that people are now having, it's just brilliant. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, we've covered off on so much value in 30 minutes. Can't believe it's smashed by so quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate your holistic approach to health.
Yeah, it was
Thank
great
you
to
for
hear.
having me. Hopefully I provide some value.
Definitely.
Just to ramble on about nothing.
It was very valuable. Thank you.
Cool.